The totals queries allow you to perform aggregate calculations across a group of data that share some common attribute. We just created a query that adds up the sum total of all of our sales and reports the values by state, division, and region. Now let's take a look at what happens when we try to add some additional filtering criteria to our query. I'm going to go ahead and open up this query that we created with the wizard at the beginning of this chapter, this one here called Orders by State Summary. If I double-click on it to run it, we can see that we have each of our states listed here, and then within each state, we have some aggregate calculations that add up all of their orders, that find the average of their orders, that find the smallest order and the largest order, and gives a count of how many orders were placed in that state. Now earlier in this chapter, we were grouping these states together based off of their region and their division, which was a really convenient way to organize them because if we take a look in the states table, let's double-click on that to open it, we have all of that information right over here. We have our states and the categories that they fall in for region and division. But what happens if we wanted to do just some sort of arbitrary collection of states and find out the sum totals across those states? Let's go ahead and take a look at this region column here. I'm going to click on the downward pointing arrow, and I'm going to choose this box here to deselect all fields and just explore the states in our western region. I'll choose West and say OK. Here are all of the states in our western region. If I go into the division column here, I can filter to just those states in the Pacific division. Let's go ahead and say OK. And I can see in the Pacific division, I have the states of Alaska, California, Hawaii, Oregon, and Washington. Now what happens if I wanted to find out the sum totals of our orders across just the continental Pacific states? That would be the states of Washington, Oregon, and California, but not include Alaska or Hawaii. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at how we can do that back in our query. I'm going to go ahead and close the states table. I'm not going to save any changes to it, and go back into my Orders by State Summary query. Let's go ahead and switch into Design View. Now at first you might think, okay, we just need to add some criteria down here for the 3 states that we're interested in. So I'm going to go down here into the states column in the criteria row, and I'm going to type in California. I'm going to go down to the OR row and type in Oregon. And I'm going to go down one more row and type in Washington. Now if I run this query, we'll see what happens. We get the filtered results, so we're only seeing the states of California, Oregon, and Washington, but this isn't really quite what I was looking for. What I want is the sum total across those 3 states. I want to find the total sales from those 3 states, the average sales from those 3 states, the minimum product ordered, the maximum product ordered, and how many products were ordered across all 3 states at once. Let's go ahead and change our query up so we can get those results. I'm going to go back into Design View. The trick to this is that we're leaving this totals row here left as group by. So even though we're filtering out to just these 3 states, we're still grouping those 3 states together. In order to group them all together into one group, what I need to do is change this group by from group by to where, and I'll choose that from the bottom of the list here. Notice when I choose where, it still leaves the filtering criteria here, but the show checkbox gets automatically turned off. Now what we're doing is filtering all of our records to just the ones that occur in the states of California, Oregon, and Washington, but we're not using these criteria to group by. They're going to be removed from the grouping level. So we're only going to see the sum of our products, average of our products, the minimum, maximum, and the count of the products that happen in those 3 states, but we're not going to be grouping by those states. Let's run the query to see what happens. Now I can see just a single record here. This is showing me the sum total of all the sales that happened in those 3 states altogether. And over here on the far right, I can see that those 3 states combined contributed 220 orders. So using the where operator causes the criteria to filter within the group, but it doesn't affect the actual grouping level that the sales figures are summed against. In other words, you can think of the where operator as filtering the records before any aggregate calculations are performed. Without the where operator, the criteria become groups themselves.